Greetings, beautiful people. My name is Simon Javan Okelo. I am the CEO and the founder of Madaraka Festival and also the host of the Madaraka Festival podcast. In today's episode, I am truly honored to host my brother Leo Flor, who is the Chief Legacy Officer for the local organizing committee for the FIFA World Cup Seattle 2026. We are going to have a number of games for the world-renowned FIFA World Cup happening here in Seattle, Washington, and my brother Leo is deeply involved with making this happen. And so today we are going to take a little journey, to learn a little more about Leo and then learn a little bit about the World Cup and some of the opportunities that exist for you. So stay tuned and keep it locked. How are you doing today, my brother?
I'm good. I'm glad to be here.
I'm so happy you made the time to join us today. I just did a brief introduction of you, but I want you to just add a few more things. If I missed any title, if I missed anything that you want people to know at the onset of our conversation, please feel free to add it.
Yeah, no missed title. My name is Leo Flor, and one of the important things about our work is that we're a local organizing committee based here in Seattle. We're actually a state nonprofit, so even though we work to organize the FIFA World Cup 2026 that will happen here, we're actually not employees of FIFA. And that's something that'll come up a couple of times in our conversation, I think, today, because it really means that our prime mission is certainly to put on a wonderful World Cup here, but to do it in a way that really meets the community's needs. And so that's where we're going to be measuring our success is how the community feels, how the community benefits, how the community can participate when the world's largest sporting event comes to Seattle.
I love that. We'll come back to this and talk a little more. One of the privileges I had recently was to attend the rain game and see you actually working to make everything you just talked about happen. So we'll come back to that. But for now, I want you to take us on a journey of who you really are. I believe that everybody becomes who they are from when they're like 5 to 10, when they start discovering their surroundings, So share with us some of the colors that you grew up with, some of the sounds, whether it's music or, specific sounds that you grew up with, whether you grew up in nature. And also share with us some of the smells, maybe some specific foods that you grew up with, so that we can just have a better understanding of who Leo Flor is.
Yeah, that's super interesting. So from 5 to 10, I lived in a lot of different places. My dad was in the Army when I grew up. My dad came to the United States from the Philippines and then married my mom, whose family had lived in New York for a long time of Irish and Scottish descent. And so right about the time I was 5, I think we were living in Peru. My dad was stationed down there. And so, a lot of Spanish, obviously, in the way that they speak Spanish in Peru are sounds that I was hearing. We brought with us recordings, and you could go to the embassy and check out a limited number of recordings. And so I can remember a lot of Michael Jackson. And then when you checked out movies, the stockpile that they had wasn't VHS tapes. This was way back when, but it was actually beta tapes. And so I remember a lot of beta tapes and specific sounds around the GoBots and Transformers shows. And so even if I hear those still today, I'll be transported back to Lima, Peru, where I was.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And then after we lived in Lima, we came back and lived in California for a little while. And some other places in the middle, but a really interesting thing was living in California at my dad's parents' house. And so really the only time that we lived in a sort of Filipino environment, and I still have really good memories, and the smells of chicken adobo, and my grandfather would fry fish out in the backyard, smelt. And so those sounds and those flavors take me back to that time as well.
I love that. What's your favorite Filipino food?
I have to go with pancit. Depends on how you make it.
Yeah.
A lot of people would say lumpia. It's a little heavy for me.
Yeah.
But pancit's pretty good.
I love that. Now, let's talk a little bit about your own journey, career-wise, and how that led you now to being the Chief Legacy Officer for the local organizing committee for the FIFA World Cup, and also just speak about, your role. Like, what are what are you trying to accomplish as the Chief Legacy Officer?
Yeah. So to take the second part first, like what I'm after, what my goal is, what my boss asks me to do every day, is to figure out ways where you can take the largest sporting event in the world, the World Cup, coming to our community, and then use that as an opportunity to make progress on things that are important to us locally. So soccer is already the most popular thing in the world. Soccer doesn't need a lot of people to sort of boost it. People by the billions watch it. 1.5 billion people watch the World Cup final in 2022, and we expect even more will this time. And so it's not that soccer needs help publicizing itself, but what I do think a world event like the World Cup needs when it comes to a particular town is help connecting to the community, help not giving to the community necessarily, but help activating what's already in the community, the hopes that are already here. Because one of the odd things about being the biggest sporting event in the world is it's also pretty short. So this big thing comes, but at the end of the day, it's only here for about 3.5 weeks.
Right.
And so what is the legacy of those 3.5 weeks and the run up to them? That's really what my job is and what my focus is.
Right.
I have a completely unconventional path to coming to this work, though. I'm not a sports person by training. I started out my career in the Army, actually. And so I was an infantry officer in the Army. And, among the things that experience really taught me, a thing that I took away from it was the limitations of force.
Right.
So, you don't have to go too far in society today to hear people talking about the need for more accountability or more consequences, and that'll solve problems. And the thing that I really took away from my time in the military is, even when you have the most severe consequences possible behind you, you can't change how people feel and what people think in any meaningful or durable way. Force doesn't work for that. A lot of people have discovered that well before me, but that was my main takeaway. And so as I left the military after 8 years, which included deployments to both Iraq and Afghanistan, I really came away knowing that if you want to affect community change, it's going to have to be by some other mechanism than the threat of force or the use of force. I was lucky to meet a person that I ended up marrying who was a public defender at the time based in Seattle. And so, I really thought what she was doing was interesting. Who she is interesting. I ended up going to law school after I got out of the Army. I was a legal aid attorney here in Seattle for a little while, and I worked with incarcerated veterans who were in state prisons and provided them with free legal assistance. And then I actually moved to the county after that. And the county was where I really got to start combining, this experience that taught me that force has limitations. I've learned about how a legal system, can work in some circumstances to help folks, but legal systems can be hard to access.
Yeah.
And then working at the county, I got a chance to do human services, and that's what I did for 8 years there. And I was eventually the director of our county department for community and human services. And that was the place where it was really like, okay, if force doesn't work to change the conditions in our community, what does? What types of supports do communities need? How do you form a relationship with people, with communities, so that when you enter into that relationship, and with governments, a lot of contracting, you're not just funding from afar, but you're learning about the issues, trying to help, being engaged, not just financially or contractually, but relationally. And then, it wasn't the end of my time at the county, but the COVID pandemic was really the time where it all came together, where, you had to work fast under pressure. Learned a lot about that in the military. You had to do it in the right way with the right relationships and the right community, involvement and buy-in. That was my time from human services. And, a thing that a lot of people don't realize about our region here in Seattle and King County is we had the lowest per capita death rate of any part of the United States here in Seattle, even though the pandemic came here first. So fewer people died here relative to any other part of the continental U.S. I can't tell you exactly why that was, but there was something in the way our community really came together during that time. There are a lot of disparities in that still.
Yeah.
And our community here did better than most in reducing, acknowledging, and trying to reduce those disparities in our community.
Man, I love it. Now I'm having a better understanding of why you care so much, and I'm also reminded of just seeing you in action. For a while, I only knew you online and through emails, and then the formal situation where I was able to see you work was when you presented, the proposal for the corridor, the Unity corridor that would bring all the tourists that are coming to the World Cup. For those who have not attended, I've not attended the FIFA World Cup, but I've watched all the World Cups that have ever happened since I've been alive, and it's a euphoria. It's a euphoria for me, whether it's 2 a.m. in the morning, I'm up sometime with my daughters and we are chaotic in our living room, but just experiencing it through TV. But now we have an opportunity to be there, experience it and feel it, And so for me, being involved with the people who are also studying how this is going to impact our community economically and also in terms of legacy, many people don't know that the Space Needle was built just because of an event, And so you being responsible for legacy, one of the things I picked up when we were speaking is some of the things that are being established during the World Cup might impact people forever, And so just go a little deeper beyond the Unity corridor and the route that was being created. What are some of the ideas that you guys have for the community to benefit before the World Cup, during the World Cup, and after the World Cup?
Yeah, that's great. And I love that you picked up on the 1962 World's Fair, because that really is, for us, our example event. It's this moment that, and certainly there's a little bit of, history choosing how to tell the story at this point, because I wasn't at the World's Fair.
Yeah.
But it's this moment that our community has, decided to remember as this positive coming together, a time when the city of Seattle, erected these what became monuments, the Space Needle, the Pacific Science Center, a lot of really cool parts of the University of Washington, that to this day are places that we come together, we think of what's possible, and many folks would say that the World's Fair was kind of the time when the frame of mind showed up in this town, that it would be a city of the future, a city of technology. And I think we have an opportunity that is similar to that with the World Cup. We're not out there building a Space Needle right now, so just the real estate costs are a little too expensive for that. So one of the questions we've really been working with is, what does it mean to leave a legacy that lasts for years if you're not going to build a big building? And I think what you're left with is a human legacy. How do we create an experience that still elicits that type of strong collective memory 30 years from now, and for people to look back and say, after the World Cup, we as a community were able to come together and move in this direction. I think the world's really ready for that right now. I think Seattle can be a place where we have this special combination of values and opportunity. We've got the diverse kind of community that can bring, and when I say Seattle, I'm talking about really the whole state, the whole region. But I think we have the ability to combine the potential that comes with the World Cup with the ideas and the values that already exist in our community, and then set ourselves on a course that really, I think, enriches our culture, sets our frame of mind, that will guide us for the next couple of decades.
Yeah, I love that. So how was the LOC created, and why? Because for a while I saw celebrities like Russell Wilson involved with advocating for the World Cup to happen in Seattle, and so many events after that, and then recently I saw the official unveiling of the logo and the branding, So speak to us about how you've given us a little depth of the legacy piece, but how and why is also really important at this moment, I feel.
Yeah. Well, this is the first time a World Cup has ever been staged in this particular way. So first time that we've had 3 different host nations, first time we've had 16 host cities, and it's the U.S., Canada, and Mexico that are all hosting together. The U.S. has 11 of those host cities, and then 3 in Mexico and 2 in Canada. It's the first time 48 nations will be able to qualify, so it's a bigger tournament than has ever happened. So 104 total matches will happen over the course of that just about a month, a little bit more than a month that the tournament happens. And so just from a scale perspective, it's a massive undertaking. Each of the host cities will host somewhere between 4 and I think 8 matches is the most that anybody has. We have 6 here in Seattle. And so the reason to create a local organizing committee is the realization that while FIFA has the expertise and the experience in sort of putting on the tournament, what they don't have is that expertise on the ground from Mexico City to Seattle to Boston to Toronto to Vancouver to Kansas City about all these different locations. And so the local organizing committees take on the responsibility of creating the plan from the ground up, you might say, while FIFA takes on the responsibility of administering the tournament from the top down. Another way that we like to think about it, and this really gets to the legacy emphasis, is FIFA's job is to come to Seattle and put on the world's largest sporting event, inside of the stadium for the time that they're here. Our job really in the 3 years before the World Cup, and then again, hopefully for the decades after the World Cup, is to set the conditions for success and then to leave that lasting positive effect on the community. And so a local organizing committee is really, if you're thinking about the way that you have to plan an event of this size, we're really sort of the local experts about the region, about the particular stadium, about our communities, and then they're sort of the content. FIFA is the content and comes in and puts on a tournament, brings those 48 soccer teams together.
I love that. I love that so much for Africa, because we have 16 teams, from 8 to 16 teams for the first time. So I can't wait to hopefully see an African team win the World Cup. Now, paint for us a picture of not just the opportunities that exist for small businesses in our community, solopreneurs in our community, but just the excitement. What are some of the key points between now and during the World Cup that people should look forward to? Not everybody is going to afford to attend the World Cup, but what are some of the things that are so exciting that everybody can access?
Yeah. Well, just first to start with some of the numbers. And so I mentioned that there'll be 104 total matches, 6 matches here over the course of about 3.5 weeks. We're one of the only 2 places where you're guaranteed to watch the U.S. national team play, us in L.A. They could play in more places if they get out of their group. We expect about 750,000 people will come to the region just to watch the World Cup. Now, this is next summer. And so folks who are watching the calendar will know that's also the 250th anniversary of the United States is going to happen in the middle of that.
Wow.
Seattle during the summer is already a popular destination. You got cruise ships that look like, skyscraper buildings turned on their side, moving through the water with thousands of people getting off. We've got some, world-class events already happening. You might happen to run one of those yourself.
Madaraka Festival.
We've got, I think rightfully we're really proud of the way our community celebrates Pride. We've got Juneteenth. We've got any number of just, Bumbershoot, Festal, Folklife, just these, institutions of Seattle. And on top of that, we're going to have 750,000 extra people coming to be around the World Cup. As you mentioned, not all of them are going to be able to have tickets. Not everyone can afford to get into the games. And so one of our responsibilities is to create as much access to the excitement for everybody in the community. One way to do that, although money's not the only or the most important way, but one way is to take a look at economic benefit. So the Visit Seattle has estimated that those 750,000 people will spend about $929 million over 3.5 weeks while they're here. So again, almost $1 billion in economic benefit. We expect, more than half of the visitors are going to be coming internationally. They're going to stay here on average for more than 7 days. And so there's going to be a lot of new people, a lot of resources, a lot of excitement. And our goal, another way to talk about legacy, is how do you ensure that as many members of our local community have the ability to both partake in what will come here, but also show off who we are, show what we do, show what we love. And so one of the big opportunities is going to be called the FIFA Fan Festival. We're going to be holding that at Seattle Center over the course of about 3.5 weeks. Still figuring out how many days it'll be open. But if you've ever watched a big sporting event, but certainly the World Cup, inevitably, like after they score a goal, they'll like show a shot of thousands of people sitting together, sort of watching the game at a big watch party. That's what the fan celebration will be. It's that place where people come together to experience, the joy of victory or the dejection of defeat, all in one place together. And then what you mentioned, and really the focus of my job is people by the tens of thousands will go to Seattle Center for the fan celebration, and they'll go to the stadium for the matches. And even if they don't have tickets, they're going to go to be as near the stadium as possible. My job is to take a look at all of those people and then say, how can we get them out into the community? Not just before or after a game, but if we know that they're staying for 7.5 days on average, how do we get them out to the Central District, out to the Chinatown International District, up to Belltown, so that they can experience more of Seattle than just the Space Needle or the stadiums, although those are pretty cool themselves. We've got a waterfront that is world-class that will fully open this year. We're really excited. You're going to be hosting Madaraka Music Festival there
August 30th,
on August 13th at Pier 62. So we've got all these assets, and my job is to sort of string them together and then help get the word out so that when a visitor from Uruguay comes here and knows they're supposed to go to the stadium, we also let them know that, hey, you haven't done Seattle if you haven't been up to 23rd and Union, or you haven't been out into the CID, or you haven't gone up to check out what's going on Capitol Hill. That's what we're really excited to do. I think that's my job, is to create that experience. And that's another way where we take all these visitors who we are thrilled to welcome, but then we connect them not just with the buildings that make our community up, but we connect them with the people who make up our community. We connect them with the people on Capitol Hill, in the Central District, in the Chinatown International District, in SoDo, in Pioneer Square, on the waterfront, up at Belltown. I want those 750,000 people visiting to meet the 750,000 people who live in Seattle and the 2.3 million people who live in King County, and leave saying, that's a beautiful place, but the people are beautiful too.
I love that. I want us to talk a little bit about Madaraka Festival. I've produced it for 11 years, and it started here in Seattle. It has been held in over 6 other cities in the US and in Kenya as well. And I use funds from this music festival to run the biggest music development program in East Africa with over 20,000 graduates. This year, August 30th, at Pier 62, I'm headlining it as an artist for the first time after producing it for 11 years. So I'm personally really excited, and I'm basically promoting it through this podcast, but inviting key people like you to research a little bit about it, and also just speak to the value of having community, focused music festivals like Madaraka. In your own research, what do you think is the value of having something like Madaraka Festival in Seattle today?
Yeah, well, one, you've already mentioned, so you've been asking me questions about legacy, but you just described how you're using the largest musical event of its type to create a legacy for future musicians. So one, like, I think that's part of the value. If there's anything that's more popular than soccer, it's probably food and music.
True.
And the ability to use music to bring people together. I think music is a really amazing sort of analogy for leadership, actually. If you want to watch what a powerful leader does, I think music can show you, a musician sets the beat, sets the rhythm, puts some lyrics out there maybe if it's that kind of music. But if you watch the crowd, they're all moving together. How many things can you watch where without telling everybody exactly what to do, they just know what to do because of who they're listening to or seeing on the stage? I think music can offer that. Soccer or sports is another thing that can offer that. And so I think that's really valuable, is to remind people that it's possible to be in a big group and not argue. And then I think the particular way that you're coming to the community, making up our community, is exactly what I think the World Cup is also trying to do. We want people to come to Seattle, to the region, not just go to the World Cup, but to go to Madaraka, to go to Folklife Festival and Festal and Pride Fest and the Pride Parade and the Juneteenth celebration. And we want them to see everybody that makes up who we are in Seattle. We're more than just Bill Gates hanging out on Mercer Island or wherever he lives. Although and we're much more than that. And so I think the ability to remind people that we can come together and move together while watching a thing together is really important. I think the ability to show folks who makes up Seattle in all of our sort of glorious diversity and representation. And then the ability to really use that to create benefit for people who can't be there, and ideally for kids, so that when they are sitting in seats like this and whatever version of a podcast exists 20 years from now, they're remembering Simon's music festival and how that launched their career, or they're remembering the World Cup and how that helped them out, and they're thinking about how they can do the same thing to 10 more people who are coming up after them.
I love that. Please look at this camera and invite everyone who is watching, or everyone to join us on Saturday, August 30th at Pier 62, 12 to 9 for Madaraka Festival.
Yeah. So it's August 30th. Come out to Pier 62. We've got a beautiful, newly and fully opened waterfront here in Seattle. You'll be able to hear some beautiful music at the Madaraka Music Festival, and come out and support Simon.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Also, ask them to subscribe to Madaraka Festival on YouTube.
I always watch these things. I never say them. So please support Simon. What he's doing is beautiful. And you can do that by subscribing to his podcast.
Thank you. One thing I want you to speak to is really how people who are watching, the community, can support you and the LOC, the local organizing committee for the FIFA World Cup. Is there a call to action that you want to share?
Yeah, I think the thing that I really want to get across is, everyone who's listening or watching to this, I hope that you'll spend a little bit of time to figure out, the sort of facts and figures of the event as it's coming, the World Cup as it's coming to Seattle. What the specific schedule is. We are starting to publish information on our website, which is seattlefwc26.org, so that you can understand what we're going to do. And the reason I really hope that people understand what the local organizing committee is going to do is because you'll then be able to see not only the cool stuff we're trying to make happen, but where there are gaps. I've spent a lot of time talking about the importance of highlighting what our community is and who our community is. And I've got a role in that. We'll use our megaphone to, announce to visitors who are listening to the world what we're doing here. But the thing that's going to make an experience really memorable is not that I sort of did any particular thing. It's going to be when they show up in community and see what communities are doing. We really want people to use this as a time to show off who they are. Because again, I think a lot of people are going to come here for the World Cup, but if you're here for 7.5 days at least, not all that time is going to be spent watching TV or in the stadium. You're going to be out walking around. And again, if we're going to achieve this goal of legacy, of really creating benefit for the community that lasts decades after the final whistle, that legacy is going to come from what an individual store owner might do, or a particular museum, the exhibit that you'll create, or a community organization, the awareness or the fundraising campaign that you'll operate during the World Cup. I really invite everybody to figure out the right way to find how you use this moment of global attention to make lasting progress on a thing that's important to you.
I love that. Thank you. Thank you for making the time for this conversation. To everybody who joined us for this episode of the Madaraka Festival podcast, my name is Simon Javan Okelo, and I was your host today. And my guest is Leo Flor, the Chief Legacy Officer for the local organizing committee for the FIFA World Cup 2026 here in Seattle, Washington. Remember to subscribe, leave your comments down below, ask questions, and we'll be able to bring Leo back maybe in a few months so that we can continue updating you on what's really there for you to engage with during the World Cup. Thank you so much. Peace.